Hello, everyone. I'm Woman FIDE Master Adriana from Moscow. I would be moderating this session today. We are very pleased to welcome those of you who joined us for a long time ago, as well as those who are new to the Nurture community. Also, we welcome back GM Boris Avrukh on the Nurture platform with his camp Defense. Now I will say a few words about Boris. Boris became a Grandmaster in 1997. He has won a lot of strong tournaments and also trained with some of the best players in the world like Kramnik, Rana, Wesley So, and many more. Boris is well known as one of the primary opening theoreticians of the modern era. Before we start, I would like to explain some do's and don'ts of the session. Use chat box for answering, use Q&A box to ask the questions. Avoid spamming in the chat and avoid repeat the questions. If you're unable to log in, just please bear with us. We are adding functionality, so you will be able to enjoy the chess content from the masters as before very soon. And we would like to announce that this Sunday will be other free camp on complex endgame, topic Rook and Bishop coordination in complex endgame. Mentor is Grandmaster Dave Rogic, so we would be glad to see you then. And Boris, how are you? We can start now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for presentation. Yes, share screen. My screen is shared already or not really? Or no, I still need to share. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. Good morning. As we say, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I know most of the participants from India, but still we have some foreigners. I hope, guys, you are doing well. I hope you are doing well. Today's topic, we are going to talk about, guys. I'm just setting up a little bit my my board and like I open chat box. So. Yeah, guys, we are going to talk today about defense, right? So actually very important topic. Yeah, I have a few thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Like, guys, normally what is happening, the defensive skills, they're usually improving with your general improvement, right? The stronger you become, the better you understand, and obviously it improves. But guys, sometimes I noticed, like, let's say if I take my students, it's mostly, let's say 1800 to 2300 level. There are some students who really have good defensive skills and some students who are tending to collapse, right? Like I have, for instance, you know, one guy who is in some sense like very pessimistic. So when he's getting worse position or under pressure, he immediately, well, it's not good for me. And so it's not that he's like losing always, but his decisions are strange, right? So he believes he's like clearly worse when it's maybe he's slightly worse and stuff like that, right? So I remember from personal experience, I think I was a good defender in general. I also noticed then I was an active player, probably was at my peak with a rating 26, 40, 50, many years ago. And slowly I started to play against strong guys like over 2700 or close to 2700. And then I really started to feel defensive skills of these guys. So it's like, you know, we like regular grandmasters, we were saying that, okay, you can get advantage against these guys. Now, for instance, I didn't really feel the difference when I play against 2600 grandmaster or 2700 grandmaster in terms of openings. Like, you know, of course there was a difference, but I still, like, there were games I was getting advantage with white, for instance. But to win these games, that was tough. Like at some point I thought, wow, that's an impossible mission because they're defending and it seems like, you know, they're not giving you extra opportunities and so on. So very important, very important skill that not many people talking about. Like everyone is like, oh, well, let's talk about initiative, attack, how to attack, how to sacrifice, right? But defending it's very important. So I actually I started to work on this, maybe like course in general. I think it can be like different methods, different ideas, like how to defend, what kind of positions to defend. Today, specifically, I wanted to talk about positions with pawn down. Now, of course, you can think that on Grandmaster level, being pawn down, it's almost hopeless. I think it's about true, like, you know, most of the, like probably some 80% of the positions, 80% of the games are kind of like convincingly won by the side with extra pawn. But of course there are exceptions, right? Of course there are exceptions. Let's say we talk about some, I don't know, opposite color bishops and so on. So I think, guys, on your level, it's a different story, right? It's still a lot of fight. I'm not talking about like blundering something, dropping pieces, but in general, right? It's in general, it's still playable. It's important, guys, not to give up, keep fighting, looking for resources, and just play the game, right? It's never too late to resign. So we know this rule. So keep fighting, and you know, would be great. Like, let's say you play the tournament, you got free objectively lost positions, down material, and let's say you save 2 of them. Like, that would be great bonus, right? So guys, let's talk about some kind of like maybe specific rules or something that we can draw from like 2 examples that I prepared. I hope we can get also to the second one. Now, this position actually taken from a very recent high-level game, which was played in November 2021. White is Firuja. So this is the tournament that was in Latvia, Riga, where he won, qualified for candidates tournament, and he's playing. It was round 7, so he was like maybe one of the leaders, or maybe, like, I don't remember exactly tournament situation, but it was very tense. I mean, decisive rounds, playing against Russian Grandmaster Yevgeny Nair, who was like doing really well at this point of the tournament. And he basically, what happened, he outplayed him in the middle game, grabbed central pawn on d4, and so that's the situation. Objectively not great for black. So what we are doing, guys? What do you think? Like, yeah, do you remember, right? Maybe there are some new attendees. So guys, we are talking about suggesting the move. So I give you time a little bit to think. Don't rush. Don't shoot after 5 seconds. Like, you know, you're not gonna win. Anyway, I just want to see the right moves, and so maybe I can mention a few players. Not everyone, since we have like a lot of players, almost 40 guys right now. So guys, what to play? What do you think? How you would continue in this position? And please, everyone, 1 attempt, right? Because I cannot really follow. If I remember someone's move, I will remember the first one. Well, we play black, guys. That's why I flipped the board. We play black, right? Black to move, tough situation. So we are talking about defense, not how to convert the advantage. What we have to do? We have, like, as always in chess. So Siddhant asking the question, to play the best move, right? What we should do? To play the best move and try to save this. Okay, so we have, guys, let's try a little bit more. I wanted to mention, guys, if you suggest the move Rook d4, it's hard for me to accept it as an answer, because I want to see what's the idea, right? Like, if it's a line, first line, give me the full line. So let's say Rook d4, Queen d4, what next, right? So send me the full answer. Well, I want to exchange everything, right? If you send me one move and it's kind of like capture, right, and it's forced recapture, like we just wasted time. You know, I cannot accept your answer, right? Okay, okay, Kushal. Yeah, I see. So guys, yeah, we got like different ideas here. Guys, we got very different ideas, very different moves. In fact, like, you know what to play, right? What to play. Now, so this is the situation where what we should do, we should kind of like be tenacious in defense, like not to worsen our position and not to help him, right? So what I'm talking about, guys, for instance, if I feel like if we play f6, and he will play naturally, he will try to get away from the pin, right? So there is a pin, you probably noticed, right? After my next move is something like in h2, right? He tries to get away from the pin, and now what? Like you take on e5, right? Or like what was the idea? Or let's say you take on d4. I think I take on d4, right? And if I understand correctly, what is happening? I noticed the pawn on b2 is hanging, right? But I don't think like you can take this, correct? So there is a like rook, how exactly to implement, but I feel it's something with rook d7. It should be crushing, right? What do you think, guys? How white decides game after queen b2? I feel like just starting with ef6, but then I thought, oh yes, of course, we can start with this. For some reason I thought rook f6 and I dropped the line, but then bishop g8 and then some bishop c4, for instance, right? So that's a crushing stuff. Yes, that's a crushing stuff, right? I even forgot about this line. I think I knew it, but now I'm like, what is that? Like, yeah, but I know it's not working. So ef6, guys, and now obviously like gf6, it will be some rook d7, I guess, and not rook d7, right? Like queen h6, rook d2 first, queen takes a3. I think maybe queen d6. Yeah, something should be. Can I do this? Queen d6, right? Like here. Yeah, it seems like you know, guys. It seems like two moves and we'll resign, right? So important point, guys. Even though maybe it would be, guys, it would be a good idea to trade pawns, right? Trade pawns. Like it's actually one of the defensive methods. Let's say if we think about this, like we want to trade many pawns, as many as possible, and then let's say get position like end game 3 against 2, also queen side, but queen side unrealistic right now. Yeah, so in general, good idea. But you know, I noticed also this happens like you know, guys, at your level, I would say that people like collapse very quickly, right? So they're not stubborn. So like f6, like I can see the game like this. Somebody would take on b2 and just 3 moves he would resign. Why? Because he would tell me after that, like one of my students, well, anyway, I'm pawn down. So like, yeah, of course, like fe5 should be played, right? fe5 should be played in this position. And I guess, oh, okay. So here in this specific, the way I played, I have to take, right? I have to take, like take, right? Take. I can even, no, I cannot, like rook d8, queen d8, right? Queen e5. I could go king h1. So so I think not much happened, right? Not much happened. So we play this position. I think I could also go to h1 and maybe take queen e5. So that would be another possibility. But actually, but by the way, guys, by the way, is it Oh yeah, exactly. Kushal. Yeah, yes. I totally, I'm sorry guys, like I totally forgot. So this is another example how it can be like very quick win, right, guys? So queen b4 is just winning on the spot. I mean, not on the spot, but it will be transformation, right, guys? It will be transformation. Let's say queen f6, right? And I will take here and I will take here. And definitely improvement for me because we got like queen side and easy to create a pass pawn. So this is what I'm talking about, right? So going back, so that's interesting. But even queen e5, I don't think there is much to do here. H6, so there is idea H6. Somebody captured rook d4, queen d4, bishop e6 was mentioned, guys. So kind of like neutral move, nothing concrete, right? Nothing concrete, cannot do anything with the pin. F6, not working, even tactically not working. So now we need just useful move. So he played rook e. I think it's kind of like the most interesting one. So potentially like e5. After all, it's some kind of target, guys. Some kind of target, right? Now Firouzja, who is very, guys, you know, one of the best players in the world, like #2, right? So he's like he a little bit got careless. And played the most natural move in this position, guys. He played the most natural move in this position, king h2. Yeah, everyone is saying king h2, but should have played before, actually. Kushal, you are right. So another natural move, but he's like, okay, tactically it's not hanging. Rook d4, queen d4. So I just play king h2, right? Like very okay, guys. So here it's very important. Now it's gave very real chances for black to survive here. What it can be, not one move, please. Suresh, I see your answer. Julem, in anything concrete? Good dreams, but Srinivas, so like you gave the line, but it's ended with a white move. So like you kind of like accept this, or like you just, okay, this happens, I keep on playing. Because usually the line should end it with our move, right? So guys, let's do one more minute. I like today how like I remember the previous classes, you just shoot your answers within 10 seconds. Guys, you cannot send me twice like follow up. I don't remember what was first time because I get a lot of answers. Just please get your answer, everything in one like send, you know. Okay, guys, I noticed two people that I want to mention, Suresh and Julem. So that noticed some interesting idea. Noticed some interesting idea here, and they were absolutely right. Now, in general, I got a lot of Queen C7 move and a lot of like quite a few Bishop E6. So just Bishop E6, like nothing to do, right? But by the way, I think it's like, again, we have a back rank issue, guys. Not to forget, there is a tactics, right? I think that Bishop E6 take Queen before, winning on losing on the spot, right? Because it's at least B7 pawn. Look, Queen C7 we take and take on B7. The game is over, right? So, guys, even someone mentioned that target D4, E5, how to target E5, gave some line, and it's well, G5. Well, that's a new idea. Probably Rook D8 just, right? Probably just Rook D8. It's too weakening. Rook C8, avoiding trade, right? Avoiding trade, but I mean, we don't mind to trade, guys. So here's the opportunity. So it's just like, you know, Rook C8, we play pull down, right? But White has a lot of resources here to convert, right? So guys, there is a chance. Rook D4. Now, I saw the line that somebody mentioned. Rook D4, Queen B2. Guys, this is not serious, right? I mean, the question is, of course, Queen D4, right? So somebody said like, well, Queen C7 F4, and I said like, well, why the line is finished? You know, of course, there is also Queen D6, I think, so that's not correct, guys. So here's the chance. Suddenly, G5 comes, and this is how we target. So, guys, I would say like that. Like if you have worse position, I mean, slash lost, maybe worse. So you just need to play accurate, not to collapse. So this is number one rule, not to help, not to go crazy because I'm like, anyway, lost, let me try some crazy stuff. If he finds I'm lose, no. Playing like good moves, waiting for the opportunity, especially at your level. I think there will be something, right? So you see, even on Grandmaster level, there was opportunity, right? So G5, now E5, there is no F4. And we obviously play this G5, Luft for the king, so to solve the problem of back rank, right? Suddenly E5 is a target. Now White is practically forced to go Rook D7, I think, because if they play a Rook E4, it's passive, and besides that, we can play Bishop D5 and followed by F6. What should he play? So that's a good question. What should be played instead of this? He should have played. So better was in this position, guys, instead of King H2, play before, then after Rook D4. So this endgame. So kind of like there will be difference with this endgame, guys. There will be difference here. We will see. We'll see what kind of difference. So this endgame is kind of like much better in this version. So here it's so not obvious, guys, right? Like, so it's not very obvious. So, but this endgame would be much better and winning for White. So this version of endgame, right? So back to our game. King H2 take. I'm sorry. So I didn't promote. So we actually take on D4, Queen D4, Queen D4, Rook D4, G5, right? Rook D7, guys. Rook D7. How to respond? Suresh, what is like interesting move for White? Like why it's such a strange move? Nice line, Srinivas. Danush, why already if you move pawn B, like why you leave A6 hanging? Doesn't make sense. Right, guys, in general, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious that like there are two options, or we just protect B7, right? We just protect B7, so it should be moving pawn B, right? So that's B5, and this is the right move. Or to play this, right? Rook E5, Rook B7, but then the pawn is hanging, so it's kind of like concrete, right? So probably A5. Probably A5. Now, guys, what is the problem with this line? What is the problem with this line? Just like concrete problem. Before pass pawn, yes, there is. But, you know, it's kind of like, okay, we play, right? So anyway, it will be pass pawn. Well, anyway, right? But, guys, there is an issue here with this move. So when we get this type of position, so we should kind of like immediately understand, right, what endgame we should strive for, meaning what we are allowed to trade, right? So of course we want rook endgame. Of course we want rook endgame, not endgame with bishops of the same color. Bishops of the same color, it's very close to pawn endgames, right? Yeah, well, of course, like 3 against 2 on one side would be great as well. Yeah, but so basically, guys, in this position, it's like elimination. This is lost right away. We play B5. We play B5, right? So in the game, so obviously we have to be ready for this. Rook takes E5, right? Rook takes E5 and Rook takes A6. What do we have here, guys? What do we have here, guys, in this position? So how to continue? Srinivas, I noticed you already answered this, right? Like you already answered, so like I just I just give the chance to answer to other players. Oh, so everyone is good here. I see it. So far we almost have 100% accuracy. So everyone got the point. Okay, guys, so the right answer, and I already gave you like somewhat a hint, but it's also in this position, it's pretty obvious. Like it's pretty obvious. We play bishop c4 and we force rook endgame, right? So I think was some kind of like misunderstanding. Somebody asked me, Karshini, if we are a pawn up, rook endgame is better than the same. If we are pawn down, right? So we should strive for rook endgame, right? Because we know like there are many draws, like pawn down, many positions are actually possible to hold. The same applies. So guys, I would say like this regarding the endgames. Number one, of course, opposite color bishops. Number two, rook endgames. Number three, I would also add queen's endgames, right? Because there are like perpetual and stuff, like very hard to hide from perpetual. So there are like some drawish tendency, right? Now we're talking about like if you not white, pawn up. Like, of course, number one, pawn endgame, like 99%, 99.9 winning. Then I would say knight endgames, because knight endgames, guys, if you think it's very close to pawn endgames, the side with pawn up can always threaten to trade knights. Then bishops of the same color, the same story, always there will be some kind of like threat to trade, and you cannot accept this. So that will be easy to convert, right, guys? So in general, this is the picture, correct? So now, of course, bishop c4, guys, and now he's practically, he has to take, right? He has to take bishop takes c4, bc4, and a4. Right, so this is what was played. Now, guys, so why it would be lost? Like the same position would be lost if white would start before. So the pawn would be here on before. And if bishop c4, right, I'm talking about the line that he missed, like, and we talked about the best move, right, guys? So before, which was the best, and now we cannot, like, this endgame already lost because rook, let's say b5, right, like rook d6, rook e5, rook a6. This one is bad because bishop c4, it's two pass pawns. And there is like a big difference that after bishop c4, pawn on b4, not on b2. That's pretty significant, right, guys? I mean, you know, not easy maybe to see ahead, but well, you know, it's a Ferrugia 2800. Rook b8 instead of b5 in that position. Yeah, has to be played, but this is passive. That's correct. Anubhav, like, yeah, I mean, you probably just play rook b8 now, but I mean, it's also like pawn down and passive, so no chances, right? Guys, now rook endgames, it's a, you know, it's a separate topic. It's a mystery. What I mean, I'm always like kind of like thinking what is happening in like this rook endgames. Nobody can play correct, guys. It's I'm recently kind of like collecting examples, and you know, there are so many mistakes at the like very like high level. Like, guys, remember yesterday, I don't know if you watched Nakamura against Aronian, first game of the tiebreak, easy draw. He's playing unexplainable move. I mean, I know like there are mistakes in rook endgames, but how he played just like rook d8 instead of rook h3, giving up b5 pawn, I cannot make sense of this. Besides maybe the fact that very low on time, and then very low on time you have this I call it hallucinations. Like you have some crazy idea that if you have time, you can stop this idea because you double check. You're like, oh, well, what I was thinking, that's crazy, right? If you have no time, you just like, oh, well, I mean, I have to go. So already he escaped. And, you know, and just one move, he gave up the pawn. Like that was just crazy. Like I don't understand. But in general, even like playable endgames, there are like a lot of mistakes. So black to move, what we play, what's the plan, guys? Somebody answered already, Suresh, I think. So if you don't mind, please, I was not watching the chat, so please send again. Oh, nice. Jan, nice. Okay, I think most of the players here get the idea, right? Get the idea. I got very high percentage of the right answers, guys, very high percentage, which is both moves, c3 and rook c5 are doing black's job. So rook c5 or c3. Very, very important, guys. In this type of positions, like it's very common. I have seen a few examples in Grandmaster games where you get like, let's say endgame pawn down, but it's 2 against 1. So you need as quickly as possible transpose into one pawn, like just being that your opponent has only one pawn, right? Because when it's 2 against 1, 3 against 2, he has more ideas. he has more ideas, right? For instance, this position, guys, if you play rook e2, which is like, well, like natural, I think somebody sent this move. It's lost after this. It's lost. Not because like the pawn cannot be stopped. You can stop the pawn. You can do like, I mean, rook e1, but it's just more ideas for white, right? So then white can prepare and maybe capture c4 in a better version, right? So then they choose. So we need this move. Rook c5 was played in the game. The same idea can be achieved with this move, right? c3, bc3, bc3, rook c5. Now, very nice, very nice. Somebody mentioned. I want to mention the name, but I think it's already somewhere up, guys. If before, it's not only like we can say, well, the pawn will be very strong. No, I mean, we are winning. Rook c5. Somebody mentioned, and like respect here, who like saw this idea very quickly, because like some people like, well, it's, you know, if you think about this, like before is definitely critical, right? No, Ampasana is not working according to the rules, Rishabh. It's you know, it was it was not before. It's c3 pawn went from b3, right? So it's, well, anyway, there is no Ampasana here. Yeah, rook c5 winning for black suddenly. You know, that would be quite a turn of events. Like if we squeeze this game and we win this game, like that would be crazy, right? So he played rook c5, guys. He played rook c5 in this position. Shanhodip, I already mentioned this. Like previously, I mentioned what would happen with b4 instead of king h2. Then bishop c4 would just create pass pawn. So the pawn on b4 instead of b2, and it gives the win. c2 instead of rook c5. I don't understand this, Anubhav. So you mean c3, I guess. What is c2? In this line, guys, sorry, let me just repeat this. Before c2 instead of rook c5, well, then rook c6, then the pawn is stopped, and white probably win. Yes, Shankhadip, I mentioned this. So the same endgame, just pawn on b2 on b4 instead of b2, and it's winning because of that. Rook c5. So, oh, well, of course, white keeps on playing like rook b6. Well, it's, you know, these positions, I think, even though like maybe it's objectively drawish, but on practice it's 50-50, I would say, like 50% white is winning here. c3, bc3, rook c3, a5. So, guys, it's also a little bit unusual, you know, what Firouzja did. Now it's very important. I also wanted to mention why he played this idea, like rook b6, in anticipation of c3, which cannot be prevented, right? Like c3 is coming. So white wants to improve the rook, right? White wants to improve the rook. Now we are talking about these positions, like when you have one passer on the queen side, let's say 3 against whatever, like 3 against 3, 2 against 2 on the king side. It's usually, guys, so what are the preferable position for the side with the extra pawn, meaning white? Of course, white wants to have his rook behind the pawn. So that's a priority. I mean, usually it's always winning. Usually it's nothing to talk about. Nobody's talking about this endings. It's just winning, right? The second best position is to be on the side of the pawn. So that's what he did. He put rook b6, he played a5, and if rook a3, a6. In many cases, it's enough for a win. In many cases, enough for a win. And the worst possible position to be in front of the pawn, right? So I know, guys, like many players, I think like would just push the pawn, right? Oh, a5, c3, take, like, oh, rook a8, right? King here, a6. And even like I know there is this common mistake to play a7. And when you play a7, let's say I play some, just move a7, so then there are no ideas. there are like no ideas according to like for white, right? It's a very common mistake. Put the pawn on a7 with idea maybe to give check, but I just keep king on g7. That's all, right? So, but to have the rook in front of the pawn, that's the worst possible position. Now, guys, the same applies to black, right, guys? No, this was g5 without exchange on d8. Okay, I know what you mean. So I think queen f6 check there might be working. Queen f6 check right away. So guys, rook b6, c3, take. So we are talking about black. So guys, he played king g7. It doesn't matter. Rook a3 is also okay, right? King g7 he played, and it was a6 rook a3. So somebody is asking me about rook c8. Guys, the same. So exactly what I was talking about. Now for black, what are the best position? That's the best position for the rook, right? That's the best, the most active, because rook can also give checks, participate, maybe take the pawns. So to be behind the pawn, absolutely the best position. To be in front of the pawn, absolutely the worst position, usually lost. And to be on the side, it's like mostly lost. Now, but this is absolutely the best position, right? Absolutely the best position. Now, guys, king g3. King g3. What do you think? What black should play here? How we are defending? We are going to win with this side. Yeah, I don't know what's the question. Guys, so I got a few different moves here. Like basically it's like, I would say 4 moves. So there is like rook a2, rook a4, h5, and somebody mentioned f6. You know, guys, they all look logical. They all look logical, but I think like 2 moves are winning, two moves are losing, winning for white, and 2 moves are like enough for the draw. Guys, so here it's very important. We need an active defense. We cannot wait, right? We cannot wait. So rook a2 is the best move, and it's enough for the draw. So like, you know, one of the ideas, like somebody was saying, oh, well, we have to stop king activation via g4 square, and that's why we play rook a4. But then king is activated via f2. You know, that's the problem, guys. So here it's very dangerous. Just, I mean, that's an opportunity. Yes, we can get the pawn, guys, but this is very dangerous, and it's now very concrete. It's like calculation, and I think according to computer evaluation, white is winning. So king is running. Don't forget that this is our major idea for white, right? Like to win the game. There is no other way. King running towards the pawn to help the pawn. So that's a win according to the computer. Now, guys, the same applies. f6. So we just like f6. Like I think 2 players sent f6. Understandable idea. Activate the king f2. Now, interestingly enough, when I checked the computer was giving h5, enough for the draw. I understand. I think like the point that like h4 will be played, and there is some calculation when the king is running, so we are just on time, right? So it's like h5 is kind of like tempo, right? But guys, like logically and from practical perspective, why we need to calculate and like, you know, who knows what happens? We might be wrong. So why not to play Rook A2, which prevents King F2, prevents King G4? I think it's just a good practical solution, you know? And that's all. Next move, guys, also very important, very important. These positions, I know, actually, I noticed many players think about it. Oh, well, this kind of endgame, we got this set up and we just wait. We just like F6, King F7, I don't know, whatever. No, very important to be as active as possible. H5, H4, because at some point when he's running, and we'll see actually in this game as well, we might need to sacrifice the Rook, and then we need advanced pawn, right? So, okay, what happened in the game? He just decided, I cannot run no King G4, no King F2. I need to go F4 right away and play for a win this. So, of course, take Rook G2, guys. Of course, right? So we have opportunity to take this pawn. And he goes King E5. Of course, White has all the foundation to play for a win here. Why not? It's far more advanced pawn. He did, Srinivas, right? He did. Now, I think, guys, in this situation, in some sense, I think it's no-brainer. We need to get back to the right square. Regardless, we'll have to do this. King D6. King D6. Guys, what do you think? How Black should respond? So you know that's why, guys, you see, that's why this position to be on the side of the pawn is actually very nice, because there is a clear path to help the pawn and to promote, right? Or, well, to win the Rook, basically. Guys, I'm a little bit surprised. That like we have a lot of players who actually prefer to run with the king. I would say even the majority. King F6, King G6. Guys, no, we need to push the pawn. We need to push pawn. No time. Like we have no time. Like no chance to wait. Like improve the king. We need to push right away. We need to push right away. Now, guys, you can check after that why this exactly position, it's already not enough. You know, it's already not enough, and actually it's one for white. But one very important point, guys, that I think in this position after a7, not to forget that we already have to take. We already have to take because there is a threat to a6. That's one of the issues. Actually, it's easy. It's easy. Like take, right? F4 and Rook B3, right? That's it. So it's not now King F5, King F4, but it's like too much time, and yeah. So guys, yeah, F5 must, and it's like only move. Of course, he played. So there comes King C7, guys. King C7. And of course, like we have no choice now but to push King B7 again. So it's good about this position that once we push, not much to think about. We just like King is not crossing the 6th rank, so we just pushing, right? Like F3, A7, F2, and rook b1. Guys, what do you think in this position? Please take your time. So surprisingly, it's still like we need to work, right? Well, not surprisingly, we were pawn down, of course, in rook endgame. So it's never easy. Suresh, line, guys. You all say rook b2. Give me the line. I want to see. Guys, I think I did a mistake. I apologize. I did a mistake. So in this position, it was actually king b8. Yeah, so that's kind of important. I'm like, so what is happening? Guys, I'm sorry about that. Like f2 rook b1. So I don't know how significant this change actually, but it is. Yeah. Give me the line, Rishad. Give me the line. Interesting. Guys, it's very interesting. It's everyone is about rook e2. Oh, what is rook e2? Guys, the thing is like, well, the majority is saying rook b2. That's kind of surprising. Mishbahur, yeah, so king g6. Okay. Guys, indeed, this is a draw. Indeed, this is a draw. And after rook b2, queen, right? Correctly mentioned, after a8, very easy perpetual, but there is a check. So here's some tricks. Guys, there is this check. It's still draw. And what I want, guys, I want another check. I want this check as well. So, and then I have place maybe to escape, but somehow, guys, I think it just, to be honest, it's too complicated. So this, then check, right? Here, and then check. And somehow if rook a6, it's still perpetual. So guys, I don't know, like I feel it's complicated, no? Guys, so like one miss, somehow it's draw, right? So there is a perpetual. Now, king, guys, there is this easy draw, like in my opinion, much easier to calculate, much more clear. So run, queen, take, run, right? Rook f1, at some point he has to play king h4, this. And this is something that we need to know, right? And it's actually drawish. So his king is far. Cannot stop the pawn, rook f5. Fortunately, we have king g4, right? Rook f6, h5, king b7, h5, king c6, king g3, right? Oh, well, h4 doesn't matter. Here. So that's kind of like much easier, right? Like straightforward. Just make sure we are not losing the pawn. Now, guys, it's dramatic. I told you. It's always happening that like something is happening in rook endgames, like yesterday happened. So it was hard to understand, but for some reason he played this. I don't know. By the way, somebody sent this and lost this game. Dramatic, and was like very, very painful. So I don't know what he decided. He said like, okay, I give check rook b2. Well, obviously, if king goes, guys, you will get PGN. I want to wrap up, right? Like it's very important. So he played this here. And now he's building the bridge, right? So-called bridge to get out with the king. He played king g6, rook c7, h5, rook b7, took on h3. The problem that it's not king b8 and you can give, he also gave check and played this. So now you cannot even give the rook, and there is this like rook a6, well-known idea. That's it. resign. Very dramatic. Sometimes it's some like strange mistakes for grandmasters. The only reason I can see that he was very low on time, and maybe I mean, again, but you know, like if you have time, guys, imagine you compare this position that you can hardly move forward, right? It's like rook b6 even, and like if you already won this, think about this, guys, pawn against rook endgames, right? How you compare, like, you know, this one, right? I'm sorry, no, this one, right? Like this position, like, and the one that happened in the game. So obviously, this comparison goes in favor of this position by far, right? But he played. It's also pressure, defending the whole game. Lost, unfortunately, but was very, very close. Just one move away from the draw, literally, right? One just plain right idea, rook b2 or king g6, not so difficult. I also don't know about time trouble because it's move. So the mistake was committed on move 50. So after 40 moves, there were definitely increment there. So I don't know, like, but happens. Like you know, there is a lot of drama, like in these games, like of course, like tension, tired, and so on. Guys, so couple of ideas for you. After, before, so I kind of like keep receiving this question. So what happens after g5 here? What happens? I think, like, let me check. I probably had the notes because maybe people mentioned this move. So g5 after, right away, instead of rook e8. No, before, then g5. So g5 here. Yeah, I think this should be winning. No, check. What queen g5? Queen g5, rook d4. Am I missing something? Some tactics? No, I think this should be winning. Like, no, because I will get to, you know, until you get pawn f6, I will get to g7 and attack the pawns and so on. Take, rook d4, rook d4. No, well, you know, rook d4. So there is a line h6, rook d7. Well, rook d7, rook b8. No, how it's holdable? It's too passive. Shanhodip, it's too passive because your king, is, you want to go on the, I mean, it's too passive. I thought you want to go king h7. No, like there is no, I don't think there are chances here. It's just I have too much time here in this position, right? Okay, guys. So hopefully you got a few ideas. I think it's like, first of all, rule number one, not to collapse, keep fighting, beat the niches, right? Wait for your opportunity. Now we know about endgames, which endgames we should strive for, right? Trading pieces, usually trading pawns is also a good idea, right? Like there is this rule, like when you are down material, well, we are talking about pawn usually because the rest is kind of lost. So we should trade pawns. The other side should trade pieces, but of course it's not that simple. And yeah, I think that's more or less it, right? As always, not enough time for the questions, but I think you got the opportunity. So maybe one general question: how to improve the ability to defend, guys. Well, attend my classes, right? but you can see, if you have the books, let's say positional manuals, usually there are chapters that are talking about defense and some rules, so you can go over these games. And also it's a good idea to go over like games of defense, players who are very good in defense, like you know, maybe you can pull the videos maybe from YouTube or something, like Karyakin, Russian player, Anand, very good in defense, right? So like that's two players that I would like to mention, like saved a lot of positions. I think Giri is pretty good. Yeah, so but in general it's not something simple, right?
Yeah, we also have a question, not from chat box. Mega from Mangalore asks, how important is opening preparation for a beginner player?
Well, guys, it's everything is important, right? But think this way. Let's say if you abandon openings and you just focus on other parts of the game, other aspects of the game, like you're gonna start off with very bad positions, right? So like, then what's the point? So then you should focus only on defense, learning defense, right? So it's everything is very important. At the same time, like how it's important, openings very, very important, right? It's how you start the game, how you enjoy the game. You're gonna start playing in worst position all the time. It will quickly go down to like, I probably don't like chess, right? So everything is very important. Like middle games are also very important, and the end game. So it should be all together, right? Study all together. But if you feel that openings are not good, you should focus, right? Because this is how you start off the game.
Mm-hmm. And also Hari from Hyderabad asks how many hours of chess practice I should do.
Guys, how much time you have, right? It's just the question how efficiently you work. I can tell you guys that I was working. I don't want to reveal the name, but he's very strong nowadays. Grandmaster from India, young. So when I was working with him, so that's a very interesting story. His mom asked to build some study plan for him, and she mentioned like, well, you know, let's do like 8 hours. Like, please, can you give material or recommendations for 8 hours? And then and he was doing a school. I knew that he's in the school. And when I sent the material for 8 hours, she said, okay, so what about other days? I said, what other days? We talked about 1 week, so 8 hours. She said, no, it's per day. And then I started to calculate how it's possible to have a school and work 8 hours per day. And she explained the schedule. Waking up at 5, doing 90 minutes before the school, coming back from the school, and then like a little bit rest, and then 6 more or whatever hours, right? So guys, whatever time you can spend on chess, always there is a lot of material to study. Just the most important, you are not wasting time, right? So it's efficient. So get some advice from maybe local coaches, maybe like, I don't know, something. But if you just like, oh, well, I'm doing chess 8 hours, but 5 hours I'm playing online bullet. So that's useless, right?
Mm-hmm. So Boris, thank you very much. It was a very interesting topic. Yeah.
Thank you, Adriana. Thanks for moderating.
Yeah, so it's time to end up the session, and we would glad to see you next week, the same time. Yeah, thank you.
I'll see you guys in 1 week.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye-bye.